What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam, and today is an exciting day. And I know I'm a couple days late, but I'm hoping you guys will be watching this over the weekend. And I know I've watched this trailer a whole bunch of times, and I was having some technical difficulties yesterday, or this video would have come out yesterday. But Superman, James Gunn's Superman, coming July 11th, has officially dropped its official trailer. Not an official teaser or an official sneak peek or a preview. No, this is the official trailer, giving us a little bit more of like, hey, what could this movie be about? What's going on? What are the characters like? What are the interactions gonna be like? And what are, more importantly, for the people that know this character, what are Clark and Lois's relationship gonna be like? And he starts off that trailer immediately showing you what their relationship could be like and what inspired this type of movie and the vibes of this movie. Like, this trailer is really, really good. So let's jump right on into it and check out the first section of this trailer. And I'm gonna have to break this up into chunks because of copyright, and I might still get copyright, but it is what it is. So we're gonna try our best not to do that, but here we go.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah.
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Oh man, this is gonna crush me. I love Christopher Reeve Superman 1 and how his Clark and his Superman are so vastly different. Like, Christopher Reeve was a classical trained actor, so like he really brought that to the table, where like he'd be, hey Lois, what's going on? Oh my god, my glasses, oh god, I don't know what's going on here. Like he'd be so nerdy and hunched over, and then she'd walk out of the room and he'd go, like kind of broaden his shoulders and show off his muscles a little bit more and show that he's taller than he really is and that he's not as dumb as he is, and he stands up and like changed his voice and he'd be like, hello Lois, like he'd have a different voice from Clark to Superman. So I appreciate that James Gunn's bringing that to the fold here, because I never felt that vibe of Clark and Superman with Henry Cavill. Like, Henry Cavill's Clark was just Superman still. Like, he was just handsome. He was too handsome. Where David Cornswet is a handsome man, but if you've seen any of his Clark looks, like his hair's all messed up, like he's making an effort to differentiate the two, you know what I mean? But we hear him like talking to Lois, and Lois is like, you're really gonna let me interview you as Superman? He's like, yeah, sure. And then she goes, okay, you ready? And he goes, Miss Lane, and the voice deepens. But we also see shots of Metropolis, which was Cleveland, I believe, was where they were shooting. And so we see Metropolis, and we also see a shot of the recorder she's using. It says Lord Tech on it, which was Maxwell Lord, who is James Gunn's brother, who will be playing Maxwell Lord in this universe. Possibly going to be in this movie. We know he's definitely going to be in Peacemaker Season 2, so maybe we'll find out what the deal with who's the bigwig in the tech market. Is it LexCorp, or is it Maxwell Lord, or is it maybe both? Is maybe this a strategic thing for Lois Lane, and she's like, I'm not using LexCorp tech, I'll use anybody else, you know what I mean? So maybe there's some beef there between Lois Lane and Lex. But on to the next clip.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for what some might.
It's a lot of fire.
It's a lot.
Ooh, so recently you've come under a lot of fire, and we see a American flag outside of like maybe a courthouse or something, and a ship crashed in the street, and then we see Superman walking through a crowd towards Stag Industries. And I love that Lois and him are talking over each other, and like how real conversations go. I wouldn't say that, like it sounds really real, their relationship. And that shot of the man throwing the can into the back of Superman's head from a previous trailer, he had blinked. So in this trailer, they have VFX removed the blink. Still have the head movement a little bit. Like, he tenses up knowing that the can's about to hit him, but no reaction nonetheless. And that seems more Superman, right? Like, he shouldn't really blink from something hitting him. He shouldn't even feel it, right? But his suit is also charred a little bit, so this is probably after that fight with the giant kaiju monster trying to burn him. But on to the next portion.
Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny.
My actions, I stopped a war.
So we see a shot of a tank shooting a tank shot. A big old, what do you call that? A bullet? Big old bullet? But like, so a tank shoots and then it cuts to a shot of Clark in this like fire coming out around him. I think that is two different scenes. I think the fire shot is the giant kaiju shot and the tank is shooting at what looks like just a bunch of people that are trying to fight this war. And I have a feeling that we might open on this war and Superman stopping this war. And we also hear the Secretary of Defense is looking into his actions, and we see a shot of Frank Grillo, who is Rick Flag Sr., who just showed up in Creature Commandos and will show up in Peacemaker Season 2, and Peacemaker killed his son in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, so I expect that to be some juicy drama, although I don't expect to see Peacemaker in this movie, but maybe some other possible cameos throughout this film. But I like that Superman's kind of defending himself to Lois, and like, you know, he's having this interview, and it's not quite like the interview from Superman 1, you know, back from what, 67 or 76? I'm a little dyslexic, forgive me. But he, you know, he kind of like chuckles at her. She's like, "That's funny to you?" And he's like, "I stopped a war." Like, looking into my actions? Like, come on. Like, I'm trying to help. But on to the next portion of the trailer.
Maybe.
Not maybe, I did.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman.
Ooh, so he kind of gets angry, and she's like, "Maybe you stopped a war," and he's like, "No, not maybe, I stopped it." And she's like, "Well, in effect, you went into a country as a U.S. representative," and he's like, "I wasn't representing anybody, fuck you." Like, so we see him getting arrested, and we see shots of the engineer, maybe Ultraman, with a U on his chest. I don't know what his deal is, but Superman cuffed up here with a bunch of other troops and Frank Grillo, so he's getting arrested for some type of his actions.
Did you consult with the president?
No.
You seemingly acting as a representative of
I
the
wasn't
United States
representing
will cause
anybody
more
except for me
problems around the world.
and doing good.
Did you talk to the president? And he's like, no. But I like that this is a young Superman. He's not like super mature with his words, and like, you know, granted he's not having a super mature conversation. It seems like almost this isn't an interview and this is more like a practice interview, and she's like really getting underneath his skin in this interview, and she's like, you know, talking to him as if they're boyfriend girlfriend, but also talking to him as if she's just the reporter talking to Superman. He's like, "What? This is how you're gonna be?" And she's like, "I'm not the one being interviewed here, Superman." And like, we see a shot of somebody slamming Superman's face into the gravel, which was a wild shot from like the last section of the trailer. But wow. But we see Lex looking smug at the beginning of that clip, and we see buildings falling over, and it's like a bunch of dust. So maybe like these buildings collapse on a bunch of people, and Superman is sitting out there like, "I couldn't save everybody." Oh boy. But we do see him like, I wasn't representing anybody. I was just trying to represent me and the right thing, you know. So he's getting pulled as like, "Oh, are you a representative of the United States? Are you a representative of these people over there in this war? Like, you fought for one side versus the other type of thing." Like, and they're trying to pin him as like, "Oh, he's this weapon for them." When he's like, "Listen, I'm just trying to do the right fucking thing," which is very Superman. Like, he's just a good guy trying to do the right thing.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die.
Ooh, and Lois is like, I would question my, you know, the consequences of my actions. And he's like, "People were going to die." As we see Superman falling out of the sky into the ground, which then leads to a beautiful clip in the next portion. But we see the Hammer of Baravia, which I believe is what it's called, in this giant, like, golden chrome suit, as he, like, also sends a laser beam through this building, which is wild. So we're going to have some laser beam tech going up against Superman's possible laser vision? I don't know. But this Hammer of Baravia is definitely one of the villains that Superman is going to be facing in this film, along with the Kaiju and Lex Luthor. So it looks like Superman has his hands tied. He also has the Engineer and Ultraman. Like, who's the real big bad? I'm sure it's Lex, but whew. On to the next portion of the trailer.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Oh man, what a shot there. The guy like, hey Superman! He's like in this pit in the ground, and he like, a normal guy helps pull Superman out of the rubble. And we hear that classic John Williams, wow, I'm even just talking about it, just hearing it a little bit gave me goosebumps. But that bam, 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 like, oh God, Superman is fucking, what a theme song. John Williams, you legend. But he goes, hey, eyes up here. I think he's talking to the kaiju in the shot because we see him kind of charred and we see people in the building behind him, but we see the building charred, and then he goes, hey, eyes up here. And I don't think he's saying that to be cocky. I think he's talking to a giant creature, right? This thing's not that intelligent. So what he's trying to do is get its eyes, right? So if he does fire blast again, he fire blasts up into the sky rather than into the building with a bunch of civilians, you know what I mean? But maybe he's also trying to get him to look up because Superman's trying to get it to open its mouth. So he goes up and then goes right through its body and like kind of punches out its ass and kills it. Like kind of Iron Man going through that Chitauri thing. You know what I mean? Where he goes through and like pops out the rear end and like blows it up from the inside out. Could be a messy way to defeat the guy, but I think that could be the way that the guy dies. And maybe he dies falling into the buildings fall over, and Superman didn't see that coming, so then they blame him for all the people dying. That could be a thing. We do see a title card from director James Gunn. On to the next portion of this trailer.
Your choices.
So we do see that shot of Krypto in the Fortress of Solitude as he's bringing Superman back, but then we cut to shots of Lex in the Engineer, and we see her in how her nanotech suit kind of works as her hands turn into like helicopter blades, and we see Krypto defending the Fortress of Solitude with these other robot, creatures, things that man the fortress, and Lex just walking through, unfazed as she saws these robots in half. And this is going to make me sad because Alan Tudyk voices one of the robots. We just found out that Michael Rooker voices one of the robots, and another woman voices one of the robots. So now these robots are going to have like characters behind them that I'm like, wait, no, we can't hurt them. But then also at the end of that shot, Krypto jumps into action and kind of like paws her in the face, and I expect when she moves her hand there'll be a big doggy scratch, and he's like, ruff, ruff. Like, but he looks, Krypto for a fully CGI flying around dog looks really freaking good. I mean, you can't say he doesn't. On to the next portion.
Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
Oh, on July 11th, your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are. And we see Superman saving a woman from getting stepped on by this giant kaiju. Oh my goodness. And breaking out of that cell, which I think we see him in that cell in one of the future clips. But we see Lois hugging him with that giant thing going on outside the window still that we really don't know what's going on there. But we do see Pa Kent and him give his dad a big old hug, and oh man, emotional. On to the next portion. A brief shot there, but we see Mr. Terrific just stepping off of his plane, and played by Eddie Gatheji. I think I butchered his name, but he played Darwin, I believe was his name, in X-Men First Class. And yeah, James Gunn's giving him some heroing to do, but he's stepping off like his ship, and we see like his terrific balls flying around him, which I believe is like comic book accurate, and we see these balls going into action and hitting some guys up in the air before like a red ball comes around. And I believe he might be defending like some military base or something, and maybe defending Lois Lane?
Superman. He's not a man. He's an it.
Superman. And we see a shot of Lex hearing Superman's whistle. And then we see a shot of Superman like kind of hurt, laying in his childhood bed with Lois and his parents seeing him. And then we see a shot of Superman in his cell, or in a cell, like kind of a glass box, with Metamorpho over in the corner, and his hand looks like it's green, so maybe that's how they capture Clark, is in how they're beating him down, is by using Metamorpho as kryptonite against Superman to make him weak. And we see like some LexCorp like droids, or maybe just some suits that these guards are wearing, like beating up Superman. That's not cool. And I love that Lex is like, he's not a man, he's an it, right? Like, he's just a hateful man and hates Superman so much. But on to the next portion of this clip.
Somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. I will not accept that.
Oof, the end of that clip, he's like crashing out. I love to see Lex Luthor as like a calm businessman, ready just to be so decisive and killing with his words, but also, you know, has some rage in him, and that's what makes him, you know, such a good villain. But we do see like the sea being parted by some rock that could be maybe Metamorpho or somebody, but we see fighting on a giant baseball field, and we see, you know, Superman fighting the engineer, and she's throwing some discs at him that maybe slice some of his hair off. We see him also get tackled by Ultraman there, which we've seen more of in another clip, or like previous trailers. But what we do see is a giant cloud shot with Superman emerging from the cloud with like the sun in the background, and I believe that's from that shot of the buildings falling over, possibly on people. We see a shot of what people are calling this Justice League, but if you really look at the symbol on Guy Gardner's chest, it's not a J and an L, it's a J and a G. L's are flat. L's don't go like this and come back this way. That's a G. So I believe, from the rumors I've heard, is that this is the Justice Gang put together by Maxwell Lord. And we see the Justice Gang having auditions for their team with Peacemaker in the beginning of his trailer. And it looks like he doesn't make that team. So maybe explaining why he hasn't been in Superman and showing up to fight. But we do see Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Guy Gardner as this Justice Gang. We see a kid raising a flag in the middle of a war zone. Yeah, so very interesting section of trailer, but on to the next portion.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
Alright, so we thought maybe Ma Kent, because she wasn't in other trailers, would be dead, but we do see Mama Kent, and she goes, I cleaned your boots for you, I'll go get them, and she goes and runs off to go get his boots, and we see him looking off into the distance and ripping off his shirt like he's about to spring into action, but not like Superman of the past, where you run into the phone booth and you whip it into the circle, and then all of a sudden you're dressed in your outfit. I believe we're going to see Superman suit up. I think we're going to see him like take off his shirt and then put on the suit and be like, hey Dad, you know, like pull the cape around the front. Hey Dad, zip me up. You know, zip him into a suit, throw the boots on. Alright, see you later. You know, like, and then he goes. But we do see at the end of that, like, he's flying in and punching the kaiju in the face in a big old punch that sends that kaiju possibly flying back, maybe into those buildings, falling down. Maybe that's the end, the final punch. But on to the next portion of the trailer. So this is like the final real portion, and then there's like a little tag at the end. But wow, like we see a shot of Guy Gardner using his ring hand just to kind of swat away some people. We see a giant green hand swatting away. We see Hawkgirl tackling a bald guy. We see a little bit of Clark and Jimmy action. We see Tess Mocker taking a selfie with maybe Superman or the Hammer of Bravia sending a laser beam into a building. We see the engineer's little nanotech particles on that baseball field going after Superman. We see Clark throwing a desk into a window and Lex barely even flinching. We see this little tube of light with Lois and Mr. Terrific in it, and I've seen another clip from a different trailer or just an image release of the Hammer of Bravia in the same little tunnel. So maybe that's what just punched this hole, and Superman and the Hammer of Bravia were fighting this way. Mr. Terrific's trying to back him up, but he's been tasked to protect Lois. But Lois is like, I gotta know if Clark's okay. I mean, Superman. Like. But we see some shots of Superman absorbing that light from the other trailers, from him healing. We see shots of them kissing from the other trailers. Him, jet blasting up into the sky and fire going at him. So maybe my idea of him saying, hey, eyes up here, is that giant kaiju creature looking up and throwing a fire blast. And then he has to go even higher. And then he comes down and kills him. I don't know. Punches through his chest. But we do see, everyone cheering as he blasts up into the sky and then turns around and comes through sun directly into camera as we cut into black to the Superman logo in that amazing Superman theme, which is kind of the John Williams score, but kind of like with a mean electric guitar. Like, oof, it sounds really good. But the last little portion of trailer here.
You have a dog?
So coming to the theaters July 11th, yes, Superman has a dog. Show this trailer to your girlfriend and you should be able to drag her to a superhero film. Yes, I believe she will be happy that there is a doggo in this film. And no, I don't think Krypto will die in this film. I think Krypto will be just fine. And with James Gunn's love of animals, I'm sure not only will he be fine, he will be a big character and he will be immense to the story, right? Like maybe he saves the day in the end. Who knows? I love Krypto. I love how he looks. I mean, the little ear up on his chest with the tail wagging, and he has his own little cape too. Like, I'm gonna eat the two of them up, but more importantly, I'm gonna eat Lois and Clark up. And like, what is that giant purple green beam that we see with them hugging? I love that that interview starts and they might not have such a good relationship after all. They might be more button heads than we think, right? Like they might not be really on the same page, and kind of like how relationships are. You're not always in agreement. You're not always just hunky-dory smiles and nothing going wrong. And if you're Superman and you got lots of drama in your life, I'm sure things aren't just going smoothly for you. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, him and Lois having a complicated relationship I love, but Rachel Brosnahan, I can already feel that she's going to really be the heart and soul of this film and just really touch me in ways that I need to be touched. It sounds weird, but like, you know what I mean. I meant the heart, not my butt. But Rachel Brosnahan, David Cornswet, the two of them, the moment they smooch, I'm a sucker for a love story, so the moment they're like floating and flying and smooching, and I'm sure we'll get like a moment of like their first flight together, as Superman flies with Lois in the original film with Christopher Reeve. Like, and though that movie obviously doesn't look as crisp and as good visual effects wise as this movie can look, but I will say that original Superman with Christopher Reeve holds up pretty damn well for a movie that's trying to make a guy fly that was made in like the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain films that, like, that movie's damn near 50 years old, and it holds up pretty damn well. It holds up a lot better than some movies that were made in the 2000s, I'll tell you what, like, for real. But that's been another trailer breakdown and reaction to the Superman trailer. I am so excited for July, and that month is going to be crazy with Jurassic Park the first week, or Jurassic World Rebirth, and then Superman, and then the Fantastic Four First Steps. Wow, what a month. James Gunn, you evil genius. Great trailer. Can't wait to see it. Comment below your thoughts on Superman, on Peacemaker. There's also a Peacemaker Season 2 trailer breakdown on the channel, so go check that out if you haven't. Thank you guys so much. If you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. And if you've made it this far and you're thinking about supporting the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting below, subscribing if you haven't already, share this video with a friend, maybe even hit the share button, just hit copy link. That helps sometimes. Hit that bell so you don't miss future videos, and we'll be talking about Superman in July, so make sure you get the notifications for that. Comically Boston, weekly nerdy news podcast talking about the nerdy news over the last week every Monday morning. The Last of Us Season 2 breakdowns have been coming out Monday afternoons or Tuesday. Andor Season 2 just wrapped, and all those breakdowns are on the channel, along with Daredevil Season 2, or Daredevil Season 1 of Born Again, which is really Season 4 of Daredevil, but Daredevil Born Again breakdowns also on the channel. Go check those out if you haven't. Thank you guys so much. My other social media links are down in the description below. Once again, my name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!